Hello! Here we are on the first episode of WF Weekly. What is WF Weekly? All we're trying to do is show you all of the cool stuff that happened in the Webflow space over the past week. So we're going to go over some of the really cool stuff that Webflow themselves have dropped, and we're also going to go over the community and some really cool projects that might help you or might at least inspire you. So first things first, hello Duncan and welcome.
Hey, good to see you. How's it
Good to
going? How
see
was
you.
your weekend?
It was great. Did a lot of fishing and not so much catching. So that's a usual story for my weekend.
Very nice. Very
Yeah.
nice.
How was yours?
Yeah, good weekend. I'm a big fan of Facebook Marketplace. I was able to find a 270-gallon like plastic drum that I'm going to use to water my garden from like the rainwater. So I'm excited to get that set up later.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, the things that you can find on there.
I know, and it was like $60.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know
awesome.
what that costs new. I'm not really a plastic barrel expert, but
No, that's
regardless.
right. You're a Webflow expert, which is why
Exactly.
we're going to talk about what happened in the last 7-ish days.
Exactly, exactly. This one's probably going to be a bit more like the last 10 to 15 days because it's the first one. But yeah, so I would say we can get right into it. And the
Yeah, let's
first
dive in.
Yeah, the first thing that I want to mention is tiny but mighty update. So this is something that so if you don't know us, we work at MemberStack, and this is something that we are super into is simple first, powerful later. And Webflow has also brought that in with their tiny but mighty updates that they've been doing for Duncan, I think the past, I want to say year and a half-ish now.
I think so.
And I absolutely love it. These tiny but mighty, yeah, simple now, powerful later.
Go.
Same thing. And it is like our motto here at MemberStack. And these have been some of my favorite updates that Webflow has released. Not just these ones, but all of the tiny but mighty updates. It's these little things. They're not groundbreaking, but they kind of change your life. And so I want to get into that first things first with advanced variables with functions. So first things first, are you into like advanced CSS? Do you know how to use variables or sorry, functions within variables?
A little bit, but I know how to use like Claude and ChatGPT, so yes, I can work my way around it. But actually, most of my interaction with these is at one point Tyler and I were trying to build a tool that would let you copy the HTML from a website and then paste it into Webflow. And the biggest blocker for that project was a lot of the best sites were using functions. And Webflow just didn't know how to parse those. So I am very excited to dive back in to see what's possible with this. And honestly, this is probably what's going to get me using variables. Because it's like, I mean, they were helpful and I do use them. But if I can start to do like crazy stuff like this, of course I'm going to want to save that and reuse it. So yeah, I'm excited to hear more about this.
Same. And I want to actually talk about what you just said about using variables. That's an interesting thing for me too. And I'm interested to hear if anyone watching this, what your take on variables is. When Webflow released variables, I saw it. I got super excited. I said, this is amazing. This is going to make my whole life so much easier. Fast forward to today, I don't use variables all that much. That being said, I'd love to hear from people who do use them a lot and why they use them a lot. Now, when it comes to these functions within them, I'm going to hop over here into Webflow and show what this allows you to do because I've seen it, you've seen it as you're talking about, but there might be some people here going, what is a function going to do? What is this crazy? Like if I zoom in here, you can see instead of it saying like 10 pixels, like what you might be used to, it says clamp 4 rem, 3 rem. Listen, I failed grade 10 math, and this is very confusing to
Yeah,
me.
if you had me draw that, I would have no idea.
Yeah, right. So a lot of people are probably super confused by that, but what that does in a nutshell is if I go preview this and just shrink it, you know what? I'm going to switch this to tablet. Webflow does that sometimes. There we go. So if you take a close look at my H1, you can see that not just when the breakpoint changes, but as the screen gets bigger, my heading actually shrinks and then it caps out. So unlike with
Oh, yes.
yes, unlike with, let's say you use a viewport width for your fonts, which we've all done at some point, and it's perfect, and then someone like opens it on their Samsung smart fridge or TV or whatever, out of normal size device they're using, and it just looks ridiculous. So this allows you to create fluid layouts, which actually have some limitations, and also put those in the variables. So if I open here, my variables, I created custom, and I just added this in, like you said, Duncan, I said to a ChatGPT, make me a fluid sized H1 using using a function. So that was what it did. It is super cool. And honestly, I would say when I would use this is in situations where, let's say, a client has a kind of specific layout where, let's say, the heading makes a very big difference whether it's on one line or two lines. And let's say it looks good on an iPhone 16 Plus, but not on an iPhone 16. That is where I would really want to be using this. So this is super cool. And this is the kind of thing that you're probably not going to be super excited about, but once you come to need it, you're going to be so glad that they added it. So kudos to the Webflow team for that one. The next one that I want to get into over here is page level SEO controls. This right here is one thing. So, Duncan, let me ask you, why do you use Webflow to begin with, if you had to say that to me in like one sentence?
Okay, why do I use Webflow? I mean, for me, it's the tool I know best. It's the fastest way to get something like production ready that I know of.
Yeah. So, I agree. But if I take that up a notch, I'm going to say the power of code without being so time consuming. And this is one thing where Webflow, they've been adding things over time and adding, let's say, visual ways to write code more and more since they started in 2014. This is just another example of that. So if you don't know what canonical tags are, it's essentially something, let's say you have two pages. So we have free Webflow components, for example. We have a component library and we have a component landing page. Which one of those do we actually want to send people to? Probably the library, or regardless, whichever one it is. The point is, the two pages serve a similar purpose. You use a canonical tag to tell Google where you want people to be sent to. So up until now, you've had to do that through code. So you would go into your page, and again, me personally, I would say, hey, ChatGPT, write me the canonical code, which is going to not redirect people, but redirect Google, let's say, to this other page. Now it's as simple as this. Let's say you have home and then you have like home 2. And home 2 is a different layout you're testing, but you don't want to confuse Google. You open your page settings, and then if we look over here, you can see page canonical URL. You simply paste it in, hit save, and you're good to go.
Nice.
Yeah. So that basically is just something that is another step in Webflow's direction of converting code into visual editing. And I'm super happy with that. And the next thing that I
Yeah,
want
it's perfect. Here, before you move on, because I have set up those custom canonical tags before on sites, and I have broken those sites because I did it wrong, where I misunderstood exactly the syntax that I was using. And the fact that now this is just like right inside of Webflow, again, just less stressful. I can go in, add the things, and I know they're going to add all the appropriate modifiers around that so
yeah.
that I'm not breaking the site. So good job, Webflow. Keep this up.
And they manage it for you. And that just, it's the whole benefit of Webflow, in my opinion, is exactly that. Things are straightforward, they're harder to break, and they're just so much more intuitive to build. And again, this is just one more step in that direction. So total kudos to the Webflow team. I'm loving these tiny but mighty updates. And another one of those, which I think is going to
That's
excite
so
so many people. Need I say more? Autosave. Duncan, how many times would you say that you've been editing a CMS item and then the save button broke? Or,
I've blocked it out. It's yeah, I don't like to think about it. But I'm so happy that this feature is here now. I've already been using it quite a bit. And I'm realizing how many of our workflows we just moved off of Webflow until the very last second because this feature was missing. And I'm curious now how much time we're going to save if we can go back to simplify. This, along with being able to edit inline on the CMS pages, the CMS template pages, those two things, delicious. So good. So, so good.
oh yeah, oh yeah. And I have to say, we don't have Molly here with us today, but these are some things that I bet you Molly really enjoys. Molly,
Molly Floyd, head of content and SEO at MemberStack.
yes,
Yes.
she spends a lot more time than I do in the CMS. So I'm assuming she has had a lot more collection items just not save on her than I have. I can't even, she probably has nightmares about that. So this is really, really good. And to be honest here, we love to show. We don't want to just sit here and tell you about this new stuff. We want to show you this new stuff. That being said, this is such a good feature that there's not really anything to show you, if that makes any sense. Because if I go create a new blog post collection over here, and then I make a new blog post, and I just say, hello, this is my post, what's going to happen is it's just going to auto save. So as you can see here, it says draft. So if I go back,
Beautiful.
it's still there. How amazing is that? So now whatever happens, your content, your progress is going to be saved. Thank you, Webflow. I don't even know what else to say about that. And those are, in the past week, the features that we wanted to talk about that Webflow has released. And one thing I want to talk about for anyone here who has any sort of product is to take a page out of Webflow's book. A lot of products essentially wait, and then they do these big releases, these big scary releases. Webflow, I think Webflow actually also used to do that if I look back a little bit. But nowadays, Webflow is essentially constantly improving their product, constantly giving us something to be happy about. Purely from a customer retention standpoint, that is huge. And along with that, their product is just getting better over time in all these little ways. So if you own a product, that's the same methodology that we follow. Clearly, it's the same one that Webflow follows. And I just think it's amazing, both for the company and for anyone who's using it. So thanks again to Webflow. And now I want to thank someone else. But first, Duncan.
Yes, I want to jump in and say that I'm hoping that this video series, if we can keep this going weekly, we can kind of encourage Webflow, give them a lot of positive feedback that we are noticing these regular changes. The community is noticing and appreciating it. And because they don't really have a place to collect that feedback that I could find, I actually created a Webflow forum post whenever I saw the CMS Auto Save came out, because I was like, hey, we need to tell Webflow that they're doing a good job so they keep doing this.
Yes.
So I'm hoping this YouTube series will do that. So please leave a comment, and then we're going to be sending this to the Webflow team to be like, y'all, keep it up. Good work.
Yeah. So everyone say thank you to Webflow. I mean, hey, if you're sitting here watching something about what happened in the last 7 days about Webflow, I'm sure you use Webflow all the time. So give a thanks to Webflow. And the next thing that we want to thank here is not the company of Webflow, but instead it is the Webflow community. So one thing that I want to say that really made me love Webflow is, well, the community, but specifically the way that the community is able to help me. So Webflow created something that was called the Showcase. Now it's called Made in Webflow, where anybody, including ourselves here at MemberStack, can go on and just create anything and share it with the Webflow community so that they can use it, they can copy it, they can paste it. And that is something that made my journey into Webflow so much easier, and I still use it every day. So what we want to do here is go through some of the projects that the community has released in the past week, talk about them, talk about why they made us smile, why they inspired us, where we would want to use, let's say, that component or that template. So the
And
first
this will
thing,
serve as a bit of a comment section for these projects. We're going to hunt down each of the people who made these and send this video to them, and they'll be able to see any comments related to the project.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And if you've released something in Made in Webflow in the past week, drop it in the comments here so that we don't miss it. And hopefully in the next one, we will be featuring it as well.
Yeah, great idea.
So the first thing that I found that was released recently is this project right over here by Robin Grandquist. And the first thing that I want to do is just open the live site and show you what this looks
Pretty.
like. Looks super cool. Now I'm going to scroll.
Love that.
Yeah. And then
That's sick.
this is a CTA right here at the bottom. This is such a cool design. When I look at this picture, let's say on our site, I picture showing a bunch of MemberStack customer websites in here. And then this right here would say made with MemberStack. And when you hover over, it says get started. That's how I see this section looking at it right away. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. What do you think when you see this section besides just cool?
But yeah, I mean, I would love to see this on a site. Yeah, I've been helping somebody with a local gathering template. I could totally see different, like some of these could be GIFs, GIFs. I don't want to make this first video controversial. Man, I've already just broken it.
You ruined it.
I've ruined it. There'd be an embedded MP3 file, MP4 file, one of those. and different pictures, and then yeah, nice CTA. Or you can even add CTAs to each individual one if you wanted, but I like the fact that it's focused. I like that there's just one thing you can click on, and everything else is just visual.
Yeah,
It's really
that's
well done.
true. Like, let's say this was for an e-commerce site that had sporting goods, and this was like soccer cleats, hockey pucks, tennis rackets, and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
categories.
Yeah, you could replicate this middle one right here to have it on all of those for categories. So this is super cool, and I mean, it just looks awesome. Let's hop into it in Webflow and take a look at it, because for anyone watching this who's wondering if they may want to use it, you're going to want to see how it would fit in as well. So first things first, let's pop open the navigator panel, and we've got two things right here. This bottom one, I suppose, is just the call to action here from Robert Granquist, where he is linking some of his socials. So click those, give him some thanks, because this is a really cool component. I'm going to go ahead and delete this to keep it focused for now. And what we're left with here that you can see is a component, which is super, super cool, because I imagine if I open this right now, I mean, this is a complicated section. So I imagine the layout is also going to be complicated because, well, how would it not be? And this here, it being a component, makes it so much easier to edit. So now I've got it open in here, and all of the class names, I have to say, are beautiful. They all make perfect sense. The only thing is if you use client first and you're used to like dashes and underscores, this one doesn't use that. But again, you can just go ahead and rename any of these to fit that. So this section, there's a link to it along with all of this other stuff in the description. You click it, you copy it, and you paste it into your own site and do whatever you want with it. And besides the visual control that Webflow gives you, that right there is, to me, my favorite thing about Webflow, that's possible. So thank you, Robin. And Duncan, anything else you want to say about this component right here before we move on to the next one?
I'm curious, could you crack open the interactions real quick? The section BP at the top has an
Yes.
interaction on it. There you go. I just want to see how complicated it is. So it's on scroll or scroll into view. Great. Down a little more, right? Yeah, there. Open that up. Oh, nice. Not too bad. Cool. So he's just rotating the outside and then moving the grids. Yeah, beautiful. Oh, it's so elegant.
Let me switch to live preview. That's the whole thing? Wow.
Really cool.
So that's actually not very complex, and that's awesome, because the one thing when it comes to copying components from other sites and pasting them into your site is, every developer's got their own way of doing things, and that's fine when it's simple and understandable, but when you get into complex sections like this, it can turn your project a little bit difficult. This is very simple. This has one interaction with four, whatever you'd call these, actions
Elements.
going on. Yeah. And wow, Robin, good for you. That is awesome. And now I want to use this section even more. I'm glad you called that out. I didn't even think to open the interactions panel. That's awesome. That is really awesome. One more time, take a look at it live. That is sweet. The next thing that we want to talk about here is something which I'm going to be honest with you, you're probably not going to be able to use in your project. That being said, it is super cool. It definitely made me smile. And I think it's just such a good example of how, Webflow is so much more than meets the eye. It's so much more than what you think you can do with Webflow. So what we have here is by Jose Rice. Not quite sure. Jose, if you're watching this, please let me know how the right way to say your name is. And I'm going to go ahead and pop this open live just so you can see what it is. So the first thing that we have right here, rogue div fragments and mislabeled styles have broken free into the DOM cosmos. Unchecked, they threaten to unravel the structure of the grid itself. Stability is collapsing. Only the Webflow Corsair can restore order. So if you haven't figured it out right by now, this is about to be a pretty cool little game. Let's make it happen. So first things first, use WASD or arrows to navigate and press space to fire. All right, Duncan, let's see how I can do.
Yeah, I have not seen this before. Okay. No, they're little Webflow classes. This is
Yeah,
great. I'm
right?
assuming you need to yeah, there's your
Yeah.
what? Way to go, Jose. This is fun.
Isn't this awesome? I'm excited. I have not jumped into Webflow at all yet to see how this was done. Oh, I just realized, you know how it's like section 7, section 10? That's the
Mm-hmm.
amount of times they have to be like hit in order to div log 6. This is really fun. This is
This is
really fun.
extremely cool.
Isn't it?
I'm very curious how this is built. You got a score tracker, you have lives, just a Webflow logo, and then the level increases as you go.
Yeah, they somehow turned 4 Webflow logos into a spaceship, and that is insanely creative. I still have 3 lives left. I'm doing pretty good at this, I have to say. Wow. I think I might have to do this on my own free time because we're just gonna be here for like 45 minutes with me playing the game.
You're too good.
All right, all right, all right. Well, Jose, this game is awesome. I've lost a life, and now we're gonna have to. Look at this like regenerating thing. This is just
Oh, it gives you a load-in time too.
so
Jose knows his way around a video game.
Jose definitely knows his way around a video. It collapses and turns into Webflow. Jose, you thought about everything with this one. I don't want to watch my last life be taken away, so I'm going to close this. Let's pop into Webflow. This is super, super cool. And I have no idea how this is built.
Here, wait, let's guess. What do you think? Is this like, are we gonna go and there's gonna be like a big canvas or something on the next screen? Or is it a one page?
I mean, I'm assuming this is one page.
I was thinking we'd click over to another one, but now I'm seeing like game, spaceship. I think it's all here.
Yeah, I mean, all of this stuff seems to be styled within Webflow. We
Ground
have
stars.
game over here, background stars,
And
spaceship over here. There's 4 paths, which I assume to be the 4 Webflow logos.
all right, I wonder if he's hosting the code externally.
Let's see if we can find the code. It might be in the page settings or, okay. Okay. So here we have the code. How much code do we have?
Not a ton.
I mean, that's all just CSS. That's
Not in
all
the header, but
good.
about the body. Oh, there's the code.
Ooh, we got some code. We got some code. And that is the thing. So, like I said, using this in a live project, like if you want to add one of these to your site, I don't know why you'd want to do that, but if you do, awesome, first of all. Second of all, it's going to be difficult. So this is one that I really wanted to show because it's so cool. And Jose, you are amazing. That being said, I want to shout out a little bit of just this type of project. And what I mean by that is it's mostly code, and then the UI is handled by Webflow. So as you can see, what Jose did here is he built out all of this UI. It's here in Webflow. And let's say now he wants to change the way the stars look, the way the spaceship looks, the way the bullet looks, or anything like that. That can be edited visually in Webflow, even though the code for the game can't. So that is one type of project that I would say not everyone immediately thinks it's worthwhile to do in Webflow, but I think it is. Duncan, before we move on, and I think next we're about to get into the community projects that you found.
Mhm.
What do you have to say for Jose, and what do you have to say about this awesome game?
I very much want to know how this came together. Like, what was the process behind the scenes? If you click back over to the Webflow profile page, does he include like links to for week 4 of the Webflow GSAP Community Challenge? Okay, this is, I mean, what a submission! Very, very cool. But yeah, I'm just personally interested how this came together. Good
Yeah,
work. Which
honestly,
that's a good sign, I think, of a like a well-built project is whenever you look at it and go, how in the world did they do that? Like I have no idea. But it's
no,
so cool.
exactly. And that's coming from us, and I mean, we use Webflow every day, so Jose, you're a pro.
Perfect. Okay, so let's see. So I think I have maybe 10 projects total, but let's start with this one. This one is called Evergreen by Hugo. And what stood out to me about this one is, I mean, for one, just like beautiful layout, love the topography, nice interactions. And like I've built a lot of Webflow clonable projects, and I'll often make some just like a single landing page that doesn't link anywhere. This one's a full-on template. Like all of these actually click over to places, which I really appreciate. So it's like if I were freelancing, building client projects, I could see myself using this for a client. And I mean, charging thousands of dollars for it. And then if I were going to pay for a template like this, I mean, I would definitely expect this to be premium. So super well done. Now here under the hood inside of Webflow, I wanted to ask you, because Julian, I feel like you're going to know Are these like, so these layout 472? Is he pulling these from some component sharing site that you're aware of?
Yes, so I personally use Relume whenever I get a chance. Relume is
Okay.
awesome. If you don't know what Relume is, Relume, type it into your browser and your life is going to change forever. Amazing. They have far more than just components. But anyways, so yes, Relume has components, and I think those are coming from Relume. Not all of them, but the ones that say like layout and then a certain number. That being said, yeah, no, this template is awesome. And, that's the thing. I would be happy to pay, 100, 120, $130 for this template. And the beauty of Made in Webflow is that people release stuff like this for free.
Mm-hmm.
And something else that I want to mention about Made in Webflow as a whole, just to take a little pause here, is that it's not, yes, we are an awesome community of super nice people, but you have a lot to gain from posting on Made in Webflow. So I actually met Duncan here from a post on the Webflow showcase, Made in Webflow. And making these free things and helping the rest of the community gets you exposure. I mean, you're looking at Hugo right here. So why don't you be Hugo too? Add to the showcase. Anyways, Duncan, carry on.
Yep, so great work, Hugo. Next up is a project called Convert by Wavespace Digital Agency. This one is very nice. I'm a fan of again, the fonts, the layouts, I wouldn't be surprised if I like found a new SaaS product, went to their website, and it looked like this. But Julian, I did want to ask you, what are your thoughts on scroll animations? I'm going to open up the live site, do that
I
again.
actually find scroll animations to be a bit controversial in the terms in the Webflow space. But if you're asking me personally, I actually really, really like them. So a site like this, which first of all, I just want to say looks awesome. In my opinion, scroll animations are what take it from looking like a Figma file to looking like a actual usable website. So I personally am a really big fan of them. I think it helps a lot just to add some life. And to be honest with you, you could take a completely static design with no animations and add these two things, and it will be so much livelier. And that is hover interactions and scroll animations, and it really doesn't take long. So I think it ups the design, but I know not everyone thinks that. What do you think about them?
Yeah, I'm going to yes and that. I think a middle ground. I think right now, so I've already triggered all the animations. They have it set up where they don't reset. And I agree, it feels very static. However, I think I prefer this over everything hovering in. Instead, what I would go with is adding small visual interactions that like draw your attention to text, which is just static and always on the screen. That way I have the ability to scroll as fast as I want. Because right now, right, with all these interactions, when I scroll, there's a pause. I'm having to wait for content to load in. And whenever I go to a new website, I'm just scrolling through and looking at all the headings anyway. So I want to be able to do that. And ideally, I would want these icons to help direct my eyes to the most important content as I scroll into that section. Yeah. Does that make sense? What do you think?
That definitely does make sense. That being said, nothing beats the ease of just clicking and applying scroll animations to everything. As for the developer, um, as for the actual person using the site, I agree 100%. And in my opinion, that heavy scroll animations is just a simple first, powerful later, in the sense of it's like you haven't really got all that time to think about animations and stuff yet, but you don't want it to just look like a, static design file. So it's like, to me, it's the quickest way to get that animation magic. That being said, I would agree. And one statistic
Well,
that,
how about maybe making it faster then? I feel like having it like come in real quick. Because otherwise, I'm kind of sitting around waiting for things to finish loading in.
do you have the Webflow read only open?
Yep.
Do you want to go try to slow down a couple animations and see what it does?
Speed them up or slow them down?
Speed them up, actually. Yeah, no, do
Okay.
not slow them down. I meant to say that.
Yeah, 200 milliseconds, and we're triggering from the bottom.
So I would just do zero, like
So
0
5.
millisecond delay.
I think won't it be present? I see. Yes. So yeah,
Yeah.
we're getting rid of the delay. That's not our actual timing. Okay, yeah, so that's 400 milliseconds. I've definitely done this before.
Now I see they use these. They have different times set to all of these. So it's like one comes in, then the next one comes in, then the next one. Whereas now yours, they all come in at the same time, which I think is nice.
Let
But
me
I
do
don't know.
another.
That being said, you could probably have it in like 50 millisecond increments.
Exactly.
Give that a go. Oh, what happened there?
Yeah, that's weird. It happens on my device sometimes. I click in.
Yeah, every device has its. We go, and then yeah, I think it's the
I think we'll
button
get
and the image.
150. Yeah, the image.
I think this is going to, yeah,
Yeah, much better.
yeah,
I mean, in my opinion, it's funny. It's one of those things.
yeah,
To each their own.
yeah.
That's my preference right there. So yeah, this project, I could totally see myself using this for a client. I would have to fix the horizontal scrolling, but that's super easy, and we have tutorials on how to do that.
We have a really good tutorial on how to do that.
Yeah. So I would just go in, and it's nice. Like the interactions are already here, so I would just go tweak them to either just be on the elements that I want, or change the speed so that the entire thing goes at more of the speed that I want. And that probably depends on the vibe of the project too. It's like if I'm working in a high speed tech sector, then I want things to load instantly, to feel fast. But if this were a website for a meditation app, having those slower fading in animations might actually be like a benefit and fit the vibe a little better.
Yeah, I was just about to actually say that as well. I was thinking like if it was a I was actually also thinking a meditation site.
Hmm.
If I open a meditation site and it's like a heading comes in after half a second and it's like set your mind free. And then like 2 seconds later, a nice little paragraph shows below. We are organized. I would
Hmm.
actually love that. But I agree if I was looking for like, a Webflow app and it was like, let's talk about Optibase, for example. And it was like I click it and it just takes like a second to load and it's like A/B tests with Webflow. Well, now just get into it. Optibase, total like we're doing a total diversion from the theme here, but I think it's worth it because hey, look, it's me.
You're on the site.
There we go. What is Optibase, Duncan? Tell us about it.
Webflow A/B testing. We'll leave it at that. But I was just gonna go look. It's like they don't have any really interactions at all. So maybe we can send them a message and see if they're willing to A/B test a couple different style of interactions on their site, and then let us know which one converted the best.
That is a great idea. That is on the topic of everything, scroll animations and A/B testing.
So hey, check back in a future week. Maybe we'll have an update on that.
Yeah. What do we
Cool.
got
So
here?
okay, next project. This one stood out to me because I was helping someone the other day building a doula website, essentially for, if you don't know, doulas are like professionals who help people with the birth process. And she was making this site where she wanted to list doulas. And we ended up finding a really good solution with JetBoost. And that is still, I think, my number one recommended solution. But the fact that this is possible using custom code provided by Nisium, I'm going to go with Nisium,
Me too.
created this excellent solution, which I now know from their description, fully compatible with FinSuite filters. I love that. Um, yeah, it's like all packaged up, ready to go. It's all well organized. The code is great. I haven't seen a tutorial yet, so I might reach out to them to see if they have something that we can share. Otherwise, you're going to need to just grab all of this, put it in your project, and then locate where you swap out your like Google Mapbox API keys. So yeah,
Nice.
Julian, any other thoughts on this one?
So this is using JetBoost, you said, yeah?
Sorry. So JetBoost has a solution, but this one is not using JetBoost. This is
Oh.
just custom code. You can design these little icons, these little get directions, right? That's all customizable in Webflow. And it's supposed to work with FinSuite filters. So this is something I could not figure out how to do with FinSuite filters in the past.
That is awesome. Yeah, one thing actually I would love to touch on with that when it comes to JetBoost and I guess any other solutions. That is awesome because here's the thing about JetBoost. JetBoost costs money. If you're adding this to your site and it's not really the most important aspect of your site, maybe you don't want to pay for JetBoost. Maybe it doesn't make any sense to you to pay for JetBoost. That being said, another thing when it comes to these tools that I think doesn't get talked about enough is what if it is an important part of your site? So is that site that you were talking about, Duncan, like is the purpose of the site to find a doula?
So in her case, we decided to basically just remove this feature altogether to avoid the fee because it was not essential. And
Yeah.
we're going to add that in once she had like a certain revenue milestone. She would then start paying for JetBoost to add that functionality. We kind of did it in a staggered approach. I think going along with the lines of what you're suggesting.
That is exactly what I think the best way to go is, because I think a lot of people will see something like JetBoost, and I don't know what it costs to run a CMS map on your site with JetBoost. Let's
I think
say
it's pretty cheap.
like $5 or $10 a month, something like that. Here's the thing, again, if it's not essential to your site, that's $5 or $10 you may have not needed to spend. And so a solution like this is amazing because you can build it without that monthly bill. Now, if it's an important part of your site, I would heavily recommend using something like JetBoost to you, because what you're going to get from JetBoost is reliability, and they're going to manage that feature for you essentially. So definitely, even when things come around like this that create free versions, I still think there's a ton of value in those premium versions for the fact that they manage it for you. So I think exactly what you described with that person, Duncan, is my point completely.
Well, I'm a fan of this one. I'm going to follow up and see if they have any tutorials or more info, which
Right.
takes us to the next project, which is this new style guide from Flowbase, which anytime I see something by Flowbase, I immediately click in and go see what they're up to because their stuff is so good. They do have documentation. So let's open up the live site here. And right on brand, it is well laid out and very easy to follow. So I'm curious, Julian, for you, like when do you reach for a pre-built style guide? When is that most useful for you? And what do you think when you see all these new style guides constantly coming out?
Here's the thing. Every project that I build in Webflow begins with the client first clonable by FinSuite. Every last one. Because it is a system that works for me, there's a bunch of pre-built classes. So for example, almost every site that I build has, spacing between sections. I think virtually every site has that, and using the client first clonable by FinSuite basically gives me all of that. I just type in heading style H1, padding section medium, all of that stuff, and it gives me everything that I need right out of the box. I use it constantly. Now, it is, as in the client first clonable, that is probably the most popular framework, client first, in the Webflow community. That being said, is it the best? I actually don't know. I started using it because it's the most popular and it serves me really well. And I don't pay enough attention to any of these new ones, but I would say the value to using one is massive and I should. So
Hmm.
great timing right here. What
Yeah.
do we got? A flow base?
Yeah, this would be one that I would kind of lean towards. This is just sort of the way that I like to name things. Plus, it works a little better with the class name search. So I agree with you. I feel like it would come down to, and we had this conversation for the MemberStack website, that it's like when you are collaborating, you kind of pull together all the preferences of the designers and developers on your team, and then pick the style guide which works best for those preferences. If we had a client, we would do the same thing, kind of see what we're optimizing for. And then if it's a personal project, screw it. I mean, for my personal projects, I don't even care. It's like, I know for me at this point, I don't rename classes. If I pull in stuff from other projects, like I'm not duplicating classes massively, or I never have div block 23, but I'm also not beholden to one or the other. I just want the site to look good, be fast, and work well. And as long as that is happening, then I feel like obsessing over the class names is sort of a waste of time for me for the kinds of projects I'm building, where it's just me working on it, if that makes sense. So yeah, I could totally see myself using this. I trust Flowbase and the way they build things. Good work, team. Very nice. And I guess any final thoughts, or shall we move on to this next one?
Well, it's not a thought, it's more of a conversation. Wanted to say super quick. Duncan, there's something I think we disagree on. Something I think we disagree on. I am a die-hard dashes and underscores guy when it comes to class names. And
Can't do it.
you
I don't.
use them sometimes, but I feel like, yeah, if I feel like if I look in one of your personal projects that no one else has to touch, there will be no dashes or underscores in there. And why?
Okay, so one of the easiest things is check this out. If I search grid, it returns grid even though it's in the middle of the class name. When you do underscores, and it's funny, I'm probably going to prove myself wrong
I'm
right
going to
here.
test this out. Unfortunately, no one's going to see it, but I'm going to test it out and verify what you're saying. Let's see. I'm going to go to a designer
Well,
and
so underscores are fine. Unless Webflow added, maybe they changed it.
they now, like, if
I
I type
think they
in,
changed it.
you see, I wouldn't be surprised if they did because,
Hmm.
again, the client first system has just become so popular
Yes.
that, it's like even if client first wasn't made for Webflow, Webflow has to now make Webflow for client first. Anything else?
That's the primary reason.
Okay.
I can make a case for readability, but
Yeah.
the fact that I can search this now kind of fixes that for me. Again, right? It's like it's even better now. I would just pull in projects from anywhere and anything, and then if it's capitalized, I don't care. If it's lowercase, that's fine. Underscores, dashes, as long as my site looks good and I can work my way around it, then I am happy.
Exactly, exactly. And I personally use dashes and underscores just because that is the way that it works in code. So if I have to, let's say, edit something using custom code in Webflow,
Hmm. Hmm.
it's a lot, or not really a lot, to be honest with you. It makes a bit more sense to me, but like that's the thing. So if you're listening to this and you're not sure what to do, I do it because it matches custom code, and Duncan does it because, let's say, it's more readable. Pick your own adventure. As long as you can read it, you're good to go. Duncan, what do we got here?
All right, so next one, a project by Francesco, which again, just like Flowbase, whenever I see Francesco has a project out, I always click in. I'm a fan of what he makes.
Same.
And this one, it is a GSAP draggable interaction, which is cool. It took me a second to figure out exactly how it worked. The title of this actually saved me. I was like, oh, draggable cards. Cool. But what stood out to me is I appreciate that he basically pulled the layouts from the ThinSuite documentation and explains exactly how all this works step by step. So the amount of time he put in to document this, that's not super easy to do, and he did a really great job. So I wanted to shout this out. Say, yeah, great work.
Is awesome. You know what I want to actually shout out here? So, I think a lot of people would look at that and go, Francesco stole FinSuite's documentation section. I want to say bravo, and I'll tell you why. Because FinSuite is one of the most popular companies in the space, and FinSuite attributes, where this layout comes from, is so heavily used. And I just want to say that what Francesco did here is a user experience hack. He used a layout that people are already familiar with so that you don't have to figure out anything new. I think that's huge. And I would recommend that anyone does that in their designs wherever possible. This is awesome because I already know exactly how this works because of FinSuite attributes. Now I want to do that. Now I want to change our like documentation to be like FinSuite attributes.
And if we did, and I think this is a personal preference thing, but I think if we did, I would probably add an attribution that would say inspired by FinSuite because it is so exactly FinSuite.
Yeah,
But
probably.
at the same time, he's building for the Webflow community. Everybody knows. It's not like he's trying to pass it off. So, and there's a video. I just noticed he has this in here too. So, super well done.
Yep,
Excellent work. This one, super fast. We just have a little GZAP physics thing. Made me smile.
that's
That's
awesome.
it.
I
Good
would use
work.
that in a project. I could see are they clickable or could they be clickable? Do you know?
I don't know.
Maybe not because they're draggable, but picture this. Let's say on the member stack site, we had a section that was like what you can build with member stack. And then in here, you had job board, course, boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom. I actually think this is a really useful section. Unlike, for example, the game that we talked about earlier, which is like so cool, but when are you really going to need that? This is, I would say, is very usable.
Moving along to smooth scrolling. I think we have just two more after this. I think I'll keep these real fast. So native smooth scrolling here. I have not clicked in to see how this works yet, but I'm wondering if they're using Webflow interactions. Yes, they are.
Fully native.
Cool. So they are moving the frame up and down.
What frame?
Yeah. And let's see how far also. I'm getting my UI cut off here. Let me zoom out a bit. So up and down 100%. We have a wrapper, a container, an outer block, an inner block, a frame.
There's our friend frame. This is really interesting to me.
Oh, interesting. And it continues to scroll past that. Did it do that on the live site? No, it did not.
Wow.
Very interesting.
Really creative.
Yeah. So this one I would need to dig into a little more to see exactly how it works. But if I didn't want to do that, I could just visit their Patreon and then they would document exactly how it works. So nice work, Reed. Appreciate that. I think that makes a lot of sense. Power to you.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. So then over here we have this nice on hover, a couple different options. I haven't looked in here yet to see how this works. I enjoy these little micro interactions,
Yeah.
things you can add, kind of like Julian, you were talking about taking it from a static Figma file into an actual interactive website.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing you can do to just add a little flair.
Yeah.
And that was a good example right there of when you do that, you do introduce complexity though. Like for a second, that stayed orange.
Yeah. I think if you like hover in and out a bunch of times, it'll like, yeah.
Nice. Yep, we broke it.
Yeah. But yeah, I love this. I love this. And this is a good example of little things that you can add in, which aren't too complex to manage, but just give your site like an extra cool feeling.
Yes. Yeah. So really good work. Appreciate that that is clonable. And last but not least, I enjoyed this one. Just a nice little parallax animation, a reminder that this is possible. And to me, it's a lot of fun.
Same.
Yeah, that's it. That's all beautiful, free projects created by the Webflow community from basically the last 7 days. And this is something I have been keeping up with and following new projects for, the last couple of years. And I'm excited to have a space here through these videos where we can go in and celebrate each other's work, leave comments, encourage each other, promote each other's work. And yeah, continue to keep this community growing and feeling alive.
I agree. I agree. I'm super happy with all of these. The fact that we're just going off of what was released in roughly the past 7 days, and this is what we've got. I mean, we know it because, like you said, you have been for years reviewing the Webflow showcase, and I have as well. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't know that all of this stuff is released. And my hope is that from watching this, you're going to see that and go, wow, this is just what they showed. Like, there's more that was released in the past week. And believe me, there is. The Webflow community is an amazing bunch of people, an amazing group that makes amazing stuff. And this is just some of it.
Totally forgot. So Mac9 on the MemberStack team has been creating member scripts, which are basically custom code that may or may not interact with MemberStack. This one, an instant, free, multilingual site using Google Translate. Blew my mind when I saw this come out. This big, beautiful language selector, which I guess we can do a little demo. Bam. Here we go. Translated, fully documented. The code is also available here on the MemberStack site. And yeah, we love the showcase. We're always trying to put out new things to help the community. So in future videos, we'll keep including those, but they're at the end.
Yes. Even though they're super cool, they do come from us. So we want to make sure to talk about other people before we switch to us.
We can't be objective about it.
We can. It's extra cool if we made it, right? No, but that's it. That's it. So much cool stuff. Thank you, Duncan, for finding all of that. I'm super happy with all the stuff that I found too. And I'm really excited to see some of the things that people recommend that we had talked about. This has been Webflow in the past week, and I will see you next week to talk about Webflow this week.
See you there.
See you later.